it offers itself to be worn, to be interacted with. Not all industries can have that. When we buy a garment in real life, we wear it. We wear it to the beach. We might wear it to dinner with a friend. We might wear it to bed. So that's what we want to do. With the digital world, we can wear this as filters on our real body, like Snapchat or Instagram, or, augment our reality and bring that digital asset into our current world.
Hi, I'm Mike D'Annunzio, the founder of Pebble Ventures, and welcome to another episode of Metaverse Matters. Today, we speak with Natalie Johnson. She is the founder and CEO of neuno, which is a new fashion marketplace. Natalie has a really cool journey. She's been through a couple of accelerators in the last year. She's worked really hard to bring this company to light. And it's just a lot of good insights on Web3 and interoperability and how fashion brands might be thinking about this. We talk about her loyalty membership program, really neat partnership that she did with Deadfellaz and Metaverse Fashion Week, as well as a collaboration that's in progress right now with Diesel. So like all these episodes, I learn a ton, and I hope you do too. If you want to watch the video version, we will have quite a few images of neuno and the platform that will help you get a sense of what it is. So let's dive in. Welcome everybody to the next episode of Metaverse Matters. I'm really happy to be joined by my colleague Lauren Fenema and Natalie Johnson. Natalie is the founder of neuno, which is a really cool platform that's evolved tremendously over the last year. Natalie brings a ton of fashion and tech expertise to the table, but has I think, a pretty interesting story you're going to hear about her journey to neuno. So Natalie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So why don't we just start out, just maybe tell us what is neuno and where you're going with it.
neuno is a destination platform for fashion, NFTs, and digital wearables. So we like to sell things in, the collectible art sort of space, as long as they've got a fashion tie, and then the digital wearables that people can interact with and have utility on. So as long as it's got something to do with fashion, we would like to support it.
Cool. And you've had this journey. You were in a New York Fashion Tech Lab with, I think it was 3D Road, maybe it was neuno as well. I think I saw both logos on there. And then you've done Startup Boot Camp, is that correct? Out of Italy. So maybe just kind of give us the journey, because there was a quote I read of yours where you said something like, someone asked you if it's too late to get into NFTs, and you said something to the effect of, well, I didn't even know what an NFT was a little over a year ago, and now I have a company. And I think that's awesome. But tell us about that. Tell us how you kind of got here over the last year or so.
I love that. Yeah. I moved out. I was a fashion buyer for many years, and I moved into fashion technology about 5 years ago now, and worked in various roles, always with digital fashion and body mapping and that type of space, and virtual try-ons. And I opened my own 3D design agency for fashion brands to help them get rendering in 3D, because it's quite common now, but it really wasn't a thing. 5 years ago, it was quite new. People like Adidas have been designing in 3D for years, but not the average fashion brand, and still a lot aren't adopting this. But we worked with Farfetch on digitizing some collections for them and Off-White. We digitized the Walmart prize winners of 2021, and we digitized shoes for ASICS and others. And during that time that I had that agency, this boom of big fashion brands were getting into games like Louis Vuitton League of Legends, The Sims and Gucci and the North Face, Pokemon Go and Gucci and the North Face. And so, I just sort of evolved what this could be. And we sort of opened neuno. It was born, and we wanted to have this marketplace where we could support lots of different brands and getting into lots of different games and metaverses with branded fashion. So yes, this time last year, I was in the Fashion Tech Lab in New York, which is an amazing program. It supports only female-founded fashion technology companies, and I was lucky to be in a cohort of about 6 of us. And you're just in there building really great relationships with other women who have incredible technology, and they partner you with great brands during that program. Part of the interview process is you present your tech to the brands, and they basically vote if they would use your technology or not, and then you get partnered with a few for a few months. And they also expose you to legal things, to press training, to a wealth of different sort of masterclasses. So that was fantastic. The only sad, it was great and bad, but the sad thing was I love New York. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. And I was like, I'm going to be going off to New York in the middle of COVID, but it was a remote program. So, and I'm lucky that it was remote because, we got to get into it that way. But, normally it's held in New York. And then the Startup Bootcamp Accelerator in Milan was from November, just gone. And again, very similar process. You present, their brand partners interview you in a crazy whirlwind series of back-to-back. It's very intense, especially at, 3 in the morning. I had cans of Red Bull lined up to get me through it. I think I had 8 pitches back to back. It was very, very intense. But it just makes you a better, pitcher. And we got partnered with some amazing brands, and we actually moved over to Milan for that program, which was incredible. And we built some amazing, amazing relationships with the Italian brands. And I'm very sad to leave it. So we're excited to get back to Italy soon and, build on those relationships.
That's great. What did, for either of those programs, what were the brands, what was their feedback? Because you were obviously very early stage, but like with Metaverse Fashion Tech Lab, what was it? I know the processes for both of those accelerators, and they're really selective, very selective. For you to get in is huge accomplishment. And what were the brands saying about what you had, or what they thought what you had could be, that got you into those programs?
Yeah, again, we were pinching ourselves. We were so lucky. It's not an easy process. There's submissions, there's rounds and rounds of interviews to get to selection day. And then it's up to the brands. You can't buy your way in, it's really down to the brands. And look, the NFT and the metaverse space, even January last year, was really not what it is now. Bored Apes hadn't even launched in January last year. It wasn't a thing. So we were quite early, and there were murmurs of the metaverse. And that's why with New York Fashion Tech Lab, both of my companies were submitted, because neuno was so early stage and almost still in concept. We didn't have a physical, website or any examples in market yet. So it was more taking the brands on that education journey of like, we've got this 3D design studio, we can make you stunning renders, and then we can NFT them. So it was kind of taking them on that journey. So I was very, very lucky to have 2 companies submitted with me, but they were so similar. I think that's how it made sense. And then obviously by November, the brands were very, very aware, at least, of NFTs. Even if they didn't know what it was or know their strategy, they knew it was something that they needed to educate themselves on, to learn more. One of our partners were Accenture in Italy, and they have the most incredible store of the future in Milan. It's a big head office for Europe, and it's this immersive in real life experience. It's no theory, it's no concept. It's you walk into this store, there's physical, screens tracking your eye movement, and there's the latest like virtual fit try on tech. It's just mind blowing. And I think brands go into the Accenture and they can see, and they can immediately understand, okay, I could see that in my window display. I could see that feature being on my point of sale technology, or helping me merch plan. And so we've been offered to put our NFT solution in that store. So I think brands just need exposure to it. They need constant reminder of it. I often refer it back to when I started in retail, which was a long time ago. But when I started in retail, fashion brands didn't have websites, and you can't even really imagine that. But Net-a-Porter was just booming onto the scene, and they sort of game changed how we do retail online. And it's the same thing. Brands don't have metaverse departments. They don't have bandwidth. People are just going into work just 9 to 5, just trying to get their jobs done. And some lucky companies, the huge big ones, they are forming these departments internally, but they're few and far between. Not every company has this access to this type of thinking, and they want to know, they want to do it, but you're basically asking them to formulate an entirely new department. Imagine building an e-commerce team and asking someone else in buying or design just to quickly do that on the side of what they're doing. So that's where we're at the moment. Companies want to get into it. They want an NFT strategy. They want to drop them, but they don't really have one point of call in the business to talk to. We talk to the CEO, the CMO, the designer themselves. We try to get the website team. We need sort of all of them because there isn't that one person. So it is a bit messy. And it's like when people were trying to establish their websites. So, the brands, they're excited. They know they need to be part of this. They're cautious. They don't want any bad energy coming back if they don't do the right drop, or they're too expensive, or they don't sell out. They're a bit nervous about that. But I just sort of say, look, you just got to experiment. You didn't turn your website on day one and make $1 million, and now it's probably your number one store. So you got to invest, you got to try, and you've got to build. We're in build mode, and then you'll see the rewards. You've got to commit. I think a lot of brands are doing little things here and there, and then they go quiet for a year, and the community is like, well, I've invested in you. I want your NFTs. I want to get in this space. And I think it's just, they got to be consistent when they do their drops.
Yeah, that's a really important point. The idea of getting in with a test, but then really having a vision toward being more persistent, more consistent, because once the consumers start to get into it, they do want more. And you don't really want to start unless you have this idea that ultimately we can scale it. And yeah, we completely appreciate where you're coming from. There are a few companies now. Disney just announced a chief metaverse officer. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that over the next 12 to 18 months for sure, especially at the large corporates. But right now there are some people that are just taking the lead in the company, and that's where we go. So it's good. Lauren, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, it's been great to hear more about the journey, and echo so much of what you're seeing. We hear this from our clients all the time too, as far as how to just get started. And one of the big takeaways is, how do you walk them through that customer journey, or what the future could look like, and how, creating digital fashion and launching NFTs is actually such a great gateway to a future vision and strategy that they still maybe need to learn more about. How do you approach that with brands?
Brands are so on the spectrum. They either get it, they have a very clear strategy, a very clear, we worked with one brand that actually had the file ready to go, and they wanted it to be an NFT done. And then we've got other brands who literally are still learning. They're like, deers in the headlights. They absolutely don't want to be pressured into something, and they just need help. And so we don't have one strategy that we go in and talk to and go, this is our offer, bang, it's take it or leave it. It has to make sense. And I think, the crypto and the NFT communities, they just want authentic, cool products. They don't want brands to be getting into it just because it's a revenue stream, or just because it's like, oh, we've got to do it. It's got to make sense for the brand. It's got to be a bit of a story of why they're doing it, and the way that they do that. And that affects the drop, it affects the products, it affects the price, it affects the stock that you're dropping. So we really go in and we try and deep dive as to why do you want to get into the metaverse? Is it because you want to do some really cool marketing and some PR around a new drop? Are you looking to build a new community in this space, or XYZ? There's millions of reasons, and no two at the moment have been the same. So we really bespoke write a strategy that's tailored to that brand, and then that affects everything, the launch, the product, as I said, and everything that goes with it.
Do you have any way of qualifying brands? Do you consider kind of what that story could be, or are you kind of game to help anybody in the market enter this new space?
Yeah, we really have tried to start with really established brands, purely from our point of view to help us launch, to help us get exposed to big markets, to give us credibility in what we're doing. The bigger the brand that works with us, the easier it is to get other brands on board, because, you know, that big brand has done their due diligence and on we go. So tactically and strategically, that's why we chose to launch with bigger brands. But, you know, the metaverse and Web3 is all about collaboration. It's about the underdog that might not get exposure normally in Web 2. And it's really about art and you know, decentralization. So 100% we want to support artists, and we suggest those cross collaborations with brands that want to do drops with us. And we want to support next gen designers. That's a big passion project of mine. You know, every fashion week in the world pretty much has a catwalk at least, or a program for next gen talent. And you know, we want to work with all of these types of brands. Some of them are the coolest brands that I'm obsessed with, like Harris Reed and Chet Lowe from London. And they're not even next gen now. They're their own brands in their own right. I mean, Harris opened Fashion Week this year, but they were at one point, you know, fresh out of school and just starting. And NFTs can actually provide such supportive business models to help these younger designers get going. You know, you can sell the NFT and then you can produce to order. So fashion designers that are starting out are crippled because they spend so much of their precious money and funding on making the collection, and you've got to make it in all the sizes, and you've got to, you know, to be out there and to appeal to everyone. And then you've got to sell it, but you don't really have a name for yourself yet. And so it's impossibly hard. Whereas with NFTs, yes, you have the cost of creating that NFT, but it's minimal in relation to going and making stock. And, you know, you can have it on a timed sale, and then you can be seeing what your impact is and then making to order. And so just little things like this is how we can really help the top of the market and the bottom as well. So
yeah, the innovation in the business model is so interesting. And I was also really curious if some of these drops, when we think about how a consumer might be able to like engage with that, and obviously collecting it is just exciting in itself, but do most of the NFTs you're developing also come with maybe a filter? Or I noticed some of them you could try on. Is there that element to everything that you're doing on the platform, or is it per brand, or kind of how do you think about that utility piece?
Yeah, we almost have a library of utility that we can offer to a brand and a product. Is it a Snapchat filter? Is it a Decentraland wearable? Is it a filter that you wear on social media? So I might just break this down for people watching who don't know what we're talking about. Utility is really, how can I use that NFT and get more value out of it for myself? So with collectible art, you know, it is what it is. It sits in the wallet. It doesn't really change. That's what it is. Just like, you know, hanging a piece of art on your wall. With utility, we're so lucky with the fashion because it offers itself to be worn, to be interacted with. You know, not all industries can have that. When we buy a garment in real life, we wear it. We wear it to the beach. We might wear it to dinner with a friend. We might wear it to bed. So that's what we want to do. With the digital world, we can wear this as filters on our real body, like Snapchat or Instagram, or, you know, augment our reality and bring that digital asset into our current world. Or we can actually fully immerse ourselves and have it as a skin on our avatar in a completely digital world and dress our online personalities. So this could be if you're playing a game called Decentraland. You know, there's another Web3 game, Sandbox. Roblox doesn't operate on NFTs, but it certainly operates on digital fashion. We've seen many brands drop collections in there. Zepeto, Genies. I mean, there's a million games that we could get this into. Now, currently, interoperability kind of challenges being able to take one asset and just get it into all of the games. But this is really utopia for me. And this is absolutely where we want to get the market to. I want people to be able to come, buy one item and take it everywhere they want. So if you just like Snapchat, you can go there. But if someone else wants to take it over into Fortnite or somewhere else, great. We don't want them to have to go into each game and buy, you know, spend the money twice. But yeah, it's super exciting. And I want to offer every product that we do as much utility as possible. But as we are in that build phase, things are still relatively expensive, or they might feel expensive to people that don't know what's involved in the work. And so it's this constant playoff of high utility with lots of different options to take this asset, but each option is costing money, but also limiting stock, because NFT value is very, very high if I just invest in a one-of-one piece. Whereas if I invest in one of 1,000 pieces, 1,000 people around the world also have this NFT, and it's not as attractive at the moment because we're still a very niche market. Once this is mass adopted, I mean, 1,000 is tiny, so that will cover that. So at the moment, it's a playoff between, offering the utility, but also being cost effective.
That was brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. It's so great to hear someone say it back as far as all the options with utility. We spend a lot of time talking about that just internally. And so thank you for sharing, because I think a lot of people are still wrapping their minds around how do you use this new, asset? So thanks for sharing.
And there's incredible platforms where you can make an avatar, and the avatar is interoperable. So where possible, we work with them. The NFT space has huge PFP projects, which are profile pic projects. This is where you'll see the Bored Apes, the Deadfellaz, all of these, the World of Women, and they want to be dressed in cool assets as well. Us now on this Zoom call, we could be wearing cool filters on ourselves, and that will come. So yeah, I think even people that think this is abstract, it's not. We all, if you use Instagram or you use Snapchat, you're already playing with parts of the metaverse, even if you don't think you are.
Yeah, no, we did a call with DressX the other day, and she had different earrings on, tiaras, the whole 9 yards, really cool stuff. But you mentioned Deadfellaz, so let's kind of turn this a little bit back to Neuno. I want to hear a little bit more. Seems like you had 3 major programs or initiatives. You have the new card, or the neuno card, you have the Deadfellaz collaboration, and then you have the Diesel collaboration. So I signed up for Diesel, I think in April, and I'm super excited once I get my digital shoes. But let's talk about Deadfellaz. That seemed like you were really tapping into community, really trying to add value to community. Can you just share a little bit about that collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just obsessed with them. They genuinely have one of the nicest, I don't know if you are in their Discord, but I would recommend it. It's like a big hug in Web3. Everyone is just literally friends with each other, and they just support each other. And I've never seen, I'm in hundreds of Discords, and I don't really feel a vibe like the fellas. They just big each other up. It's like each one's a hype man for the next person. So it's a really special thing they've created. It's female founded. Betty and Syke are legends, husband and wife duo, and they're also Australian. So there was just so many synergies, and we just got on so well. And they got the vision that we're building, and they were excited by that. And we did a partnership with them, and we dropped products for their community in Decentraland at the Metaverse Fashion Week that just went. And it was hugely successful. We over 50% of all of the sales were from us, which is absolutely incredible when you think there were huge brands that were participating. And I think the reason we were able to be so successful is we partnered strategically with the community that already play this game. They've had parties in there with Steve Aoki, they've had great activations, their community are there. And so we tailored product specifically for that community. Now, if I'm part of the Deadfellaz and I've gone into this land and I see, just branded product that's a t-shirt that they're selling on their own website, or I see a t-shirt that's literally kind of been made with me in mind, I know where I'm going to be buying. And I think that's why we were able to be successful, is we just targeted that. And then we did a physical drop alongside it, and it looks so cool. I can't wait to get my hands on some of the pieces. So it's tapping into those communities, and that's what these PFP projects have been able to do. There's loads of special ones. So World of Women, Boss Beauties, Cool Cats, Invisible Friends is about to drop. Obviously the apes. There's hundreds that you could write that have great communities. Azuki, Killer Girlfriends. These are all projects we would love to work with and tap into. We want to work with everyone that's got a need for dressing with branded product and make it fun for them. So
cool. Well, that one seems very different than diesel.
very.
I think is really interesting that, and maybe as you're starting to feel, kind of where your center of gravity is as a company, just this idea of what are the types of brands or platforms or executions that ultimately make sense. But so the diesel is super cool, looks amazing. The shoe rotating is really cool. But how did you guys get connected? Did you pitch them? How did that all come together?
So we were very lucky with Diesel. They had the file ready to go. So the Fabricant, who are colleagues of ours in the Metaverse space, we call them the OGs of digital fashion. They really helped put that on the map. They were talking about it back in 2016 when it really wasn't a thing. So they actually made those shoes and the 3D file. And I think for the brand, it was such a step change moment of time, because a bit of history about Diesel, they'd never had another designer at the helm. And Glenn Martins, who is a bit of an icon, comes from Y Project and is really, got an amazing eye. He had now become the designer for Diesel, and you can see it in their marketing, in their products. They showed at Milan Fashion Week. They are just out everywhere at the moment. They're dressing all the stars, and I just keep seeing them everywhere. I don't know, maybe it's because they're our clients, so I'm looking, but it feels like they're really taking it up a notch. And these sneakers were a moment in time, his new design, and a real moment to take the brand in a new direction. So that was really exciting. And we got introduced to them in November by a friend in the market. And it was just, they had a very clear vision in mind of what they wanted. So it's very exciting, and we will be launching that very, very soon. I think we talked about it in November. So I think the community is really itching to get their hands on that. So it has been a bit delayed, but it's coming very soon.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I am a member of that community, and I am itching.
You look like you're ready for Diesel with the red behind you.
Oh,
and
I am, believe me. Anything
you're so on brand.
anything to advance making me look cooler than I am, I'm ready for. So those shoes will do it. And then tell us about the loyalty card, or how should we be thinking about this? And also be good to understand neuno versus, say, the Dematerialized versus sort of other platforms where brands are thinking of partnering with, maybe kind of paint that landscape for the audience, what I think would be good.
Yeah. So I've completely lost my train of thought. So
the loyalty card.
the card. So we had this sort of alpha drop, which we launched in a few months ago, and it's exactly like you said. It's the membership card. So the new card, we have exciting benefits for those members, and things like access to pre-sales, depending on which card you get. They're yet to be revealed. Depending on which tier you get will affect your reservation spots for next, like guaranteed to buy an NFT at next drops, and how many you could mint. So if you have, a really special tier, you might be able to mint 2 or 3 NFTs, whereas someone with a lower tier might not be able to mint as many. It's quite a standard launch for a lot of NFT projects. It helps us build a community and raise some funds to go forward. And we feel incredibly blessed. Again, like any project, there's been a few delays, but we really have built this insane community of like what's called diamond hands, where out of 514 cards, I think there's only about 15 or so on sale, which means the majority of people are holding. They believe in us. They're excited for our vision. They didn't just buy it to flip it. I think it is different what we're doing to a lot of NFT projects. The profile pictures, everyone gets it. They can flip it. They can be day traders. They can be whales. There's celebs. It's very easy to get your head around. Do I like this character? I can buy it. I can either keep it or I buy a few and I sell some. With ours, it's like we're on a 10-20 year journey here, getting the brands on board and really building this wardrobe for the metaverse. It's a very different vision. And I think we're lucky that we've sort of carved out this niche of followers and believers that really understand what we're trying to do. And, there's not really any FUD in the community. They just want to know what tier they've got, and they want the reveal, which is happening hopefully within a few weeks. So with our comparison to other people in market, there's a few of us. There's probably about 10 key players, I think, in the digital fashion NFT space, and we're all doing slightly different things. I'm genuinely thankful that everyone else is here, because I tell you what, it's hard enough educating the space when there's a few of us, let alone if you were just one. So there isn't just one shop in the world. There's heaps of department stores. There's all sorts happening, and I think there's space for everyone, and we all have a different tact. So the Fabricant, it's built on a Flow blockchain that's got its own unique community. They have almost like a clothing builder. It's like you can go in, you and me, the average person, we're not fashion designers, and you can help sort of create. They have the template of a dress, a jacket, a trousers, and you go in and you can customize it and mint it if it's a unique combination, and you become the designer. So they are doing that really, really. It's a seamless experience if you get to go in and play with it. The Dematerialized, they launched and they were one of the first in the market. They're again on a different chain. They're on the Luxo chain, which is a whole blockchain that's been built for the fashion industry. And they've done crazy different products, very, very aspirational, very digital, very futuristic. They really push the boundaries of the types of products you can drop. I mean, they've had clothes for pets, they've had mermaid tails. They're really showing brands what you can do, I think. But it's very futuristic. So they've got that sort of space that they're owning. There's so many. The Exclusible has a huge male audience, I think, and they almost pivoted after they did their first drop. They dropped some Dita Von Teese photography, and then they went really hard in the real estate space. And so they started selling plots of lands for clients and building apartments in these metaverse worlds for clients. And they really sort of owned that space and became almost a real estate agent for clients in the luxury space. We'd be remiss to not talk about Artifact. These really put what we're doing on the map. They launched with sneakers, they did collaborations with Ferocious, and obviously they got acquired by Nike. So they really had, again, I think they had a massive male audience when they started, for sure. It's probably much more mixed now. They launched sneakers. It was very, type of product that's traditionally masculine. And then they launched this clone drop, which was their profile pic drop, and it was very mixed with lots of different sort of genders and approaches and aliens and things like that, which was much more wide encompassing. So I think all of us have a different tact. We have launched with brands. That's where we want to play. We love the brands, and we think there's space for them in Web3. We think they bring a lot of resource and a lot of familiarity. And I think for Web3 to become mainstream and adopted by more, they need to see familiar products. They need to get it. And I think going into a store and buying physical product to seeing that sort of digital product in a land or as a filter, you can kind of get on that journey quicker. So that's where we see adding value to this space, and we really hope the brands come to play.
I just thought, sorry, Lauren, just one thing I wanted to follow up on. I thought that was really interesting, the way you described it. I hadn't thought of that way. Like the Dematerialized is a little bit more futuristic in what they've done. I mean, the Rebecca Minkoff stuff, I think it was Nicholas Kirkwood. I actually bought one of those NFTs just the other day because I thought it was super cool. Then I would give it to my daughter because I think she would think it's super cool, which would help me try to be more cool. But anyway, I hadn't thought about it, but the way you explained it's making sense. As this marketplace starts to mature a little bit more, neuno may be the place where you go with more realistic, closer to life versions of things, and Dematerialized, again, not sure where they're going to end up going, but maybe we're starting to see, and it really ties into this notion of authenticity. So if you're a brand, you probably want to play on neuno, and you want to play on Dematerialized, and you want to play in other places, and you're going to showcase your brand potentially in very different ways. That to me is super exciting for brands.
you know, brands don't just put their stock in one store.
For sure.
And, you know, people don't go shopping in one store. If people are passionate about digital fashion, they're probably, as you said, shopping with all of us. And I really hope that's the case. I think we all have to stick together. And I think it's very Web3. Like, you know, most of us do already know each other. We're on panels together and it feels very supportive. It doesn't feel like, oh, a threat. I think we're all thankful that we're all here trying to push this agenda forward, because without each other, it is so much harder. So, you know, I'm really thankful for everyone. Every drop that we do in digital fashion is a moment in time that pushes the boundaries and pushes the industry forward. And everyone's doing such different drops within their own space. Like we're just showing what can be done. So yeah, I think it's a really experimental and fun time, and I hope the brands do play with all of us, because there's room to. So yeah.
Lauren, I'm sure you have more questions.
I mean, I could ask you questions for the next 3 hours, so we don't have to dive too deep. I think you've done an incredible job of giving people an overview too. And my only last question was going to be, you know, what is your hopes and dreams for like a catalyst that could get even more people into this space? And I think you just spoke to it, but if you have anything else to add as to how, you know, to get consumers really excited to play with this space, I'd love to hear it.
I think the technology has a lot to answer for. It's still not very commercial and it's still a bit clunky. You know, if you don't want to do a wallet and what's a crypto wallet, and I got to do KYC, what is that? I got to submit my passport photo. That feels a bit invasive. You know, when we can get to a stage where NFTs, you can buy them with your credit card, and you can on some sites, but it still goes into some siloed wallet over the, you know, it's not where it can and should be. So I think that the technology needs to come on leaps and bounds to make this accessible, make it really, really easy to transact, just like e-commerce. And I think personally, I hope the market doesn't get too fragmented with all these crazy brands just doing something on their own website and in their own wallets, and then they don't talk to each other, because for true adoption, and it needs interoperability. So we need, you know, someone to be helping make that experience really consistent for customers, so they know what they're getting. But yeah, I think I really see this world where maybe we start, and people who are investing in luxury fashion and they're saving up, you know, a lot of money to buy something, and the NFT is gifted to them. This at least will start getting them these digital wardrobes and these digital assets. And I think let's just start building them up for people. And then we, you know, as the tech improves and the utility improves, we can be helping them use those. But I think there's so many good products. I'm like, quick, you're missing an NFT opportunity. I want to NFT that. I want you to have got that, you know, like the Balenciaga Gucci mashup. I'm like, oh my God, that was made for the metaverse. Like, I want to NFT all of that range. And they've just dropped, you know, this blue monogram campaign again. And I'm like, oh, this is just such a moment in time. And all of these things should be NFTs, but that's just because I'm obsessed.
I get it. I'm right there with you. So that's, yeah, great.
So one last question. I'm curious to get your observations of Metaverse Fashion Week. You know, it's kind of the good, the not so good, the where to go. Personally, I thought for a first time out, it was incredibly exciting. It really, I mean, if you really kind of zoom back and say, all right, this is a brand new first time really ever type of thing that was produced on such a scale. Thought that was super interesting. Clearly lots of room for it to improve in the next round, but wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, being that you were a pretty active participant in it.
You know, I am so glad you asked this question, because it is a bit of a controversial one. People either who are in the space, you know, were obsessed with it, or they were like, it was really poorly executed, and you know, there's divisive feelings, I think, in the market. It would be remiss not to, as you said, acknowledge that there's room for improvement, like all of this. But over 60 brands came together, you know, in 4 days into one metaverse land and showcase their product. It was really a world first. And they dropped digital wearables alongside physical products. So yeah, it was a huge undertaking, and perhaps it was too huge, and that's maybe why there was gaps. But I think it was a moment in time to acknowledge, yes, Decentraland, and I would say this to the founders of it, it's not a luxury experience. You know, they didn't set out to build this land to be luxury. They wanted a social metaverse game, and you know, we're kind of putting the fashion brands in there, but it's certainly not a luxury experience. So I'm torn constantly. Is it better to be participating in this, so you're still there, you're learning, you were part of that moment, or you know, if we wait until everything's perfect, we'll never get going. So I see both sides, and I'm not trying to sit on the fence. You know, I'm glad we participated in the way we did, because I think we showed everyone that's how you do it. You've got to make the product authentic, and you've got to make it attractive to the people playing the games. Otherwise, what's the point? You can't just sit back and rely on your brand in this space. It's not enough. It's not good enough. You need to be genuine. You can't just go, well, this is my store and this is my product, come and buy it. It's not that easy. So I think that's the key learning from this. And there's so much opportunity. You know, the brands just need to spend effort and time and research to make those experiences genuine, and then they'll be off. So I think
really for brands is to start to, it's a new environment, and you know, but if there were 10 million or 20 million consumers there, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? Because there's an audience there, and we want to intersect with that audience in a really authentic, engaging, immersive way. And so I think that's where all this evolves over the next several years. I mean, I'm old enough to have been around when the beginning of the websites. They were not like they were today, for 100%.
Sure. Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that testing and learning and getting exposure won't help you. It will help you without a doubt. And it'll really help you start to formulate your strategy. Where's a good place for us to be? How should we be there? What type of investment makes sense given the platform, given the audience? And so I was actually really happy that it did. Yeah, maybe it was too big, maybe it wasn't, who knows, but I thought it was a pretty amazing effort for a first time out.
I agree. And I think it just shows what needs to be done. And if there's other spaces that want to evolve and push it further and make it better, you know, let's go. So I think it's exciting what we're going to build.
All right. Well, I broke my own rule. I said we were going to 25 minutes. And
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I feel like we could just keep chatting. So it's like, you know,
we could keep rolling. But maybe just end it with this. Tell us a little bit about where you're going. Kind of you have a pretty ambitious roadmap, which is awesome. You talk about land buys and all sorts of different things, but what are maybe the next couple of quarters look like for Neuno, and how should brands be, you know, thinking about wanting to get involved in Neuno? Yeah,
we are coming to New York. We're looking to do a real pop-up experience again to appeal to that, you know, average person who's interested in NFTs and the metaverse, but doesn't really know what it is. And we want to show them, you know, we have physical products and sneakers sort of on installations next to the NFT, and I just think it makes it so accessible for consumers, and it hasn't really been done before. So, you know, we're there, we're doing lots of talks, we're dropping a collection with I can't say in June, and there's lots more to come with us. You know, I want to talk about so many things, but I'll get myself in trouble. But yeah, our roadmap is ambitious. We're not here for a 6-month drop and make our money and go. You know, it's not really been about the money for us. We actually genuinely want to build a new way of doing fashion, and so it's a big job. And we're going to take 10 plus years to do it.
Great. Well, cool. We will get to meet in person at NFT NYC.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Be cool. And thank you very much for taking time today. It was really cool to hear the story and to be able to share.
Thank you both. Like, I feel like we could chat for hours, so we'll definitely have to go for dinner in New York.
Definitely.
All
Great.
right.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, whatever time it is there. Yeah.
Morning, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Metaverse Matters by Pebble Ventures. If you enjoyed the content, please do subscribe and rate the show. You could also connect with us on LinkedIn at pebbleventures.com or directly at mike@pebbleventures.com. If you're a brand exploring the space, or you're already testing and are looking to develop next-level strategies, please do reach out. We'd welcome an introductory conversation to learn more about your goals, where you are in the process, and share our thoughts about your business. Have a great day.